Hey everybody, welcome on back. Talking about the Ally 400. Actually, why not? Let's show it off. Ally 400 at Nashville. There is our event pin. Got this one a little bit early. But we were talking about our race winner. Well, actually, we're talking about the whole week. This is just a car to show off, I guess. But we're talking about the Ally 400. So, obviously, car in front of us kind of tells a story. Ross Chastain gets his first win since Talladega of last year. That's right, he had been over a year since he had visited Victory Lane. Today, though, very, very fast car, flawless execution by Chastain all day. Drove a great race and did what he had to do when he needed to make the moves to win. So, I don't think there's really any argument. He seemed to be the best car pretty much all day. It was him and Truex. He definitely made the moves when he needed to. That sure helps. And so, yeah, able to come home with the win. Sat on the pole, got Trackhouse's first ever pole, and then also snagged their fourth career win, or fourth win as a team. So let's go through stage one. Stage one, everything breaks out, and everything kind of runs fairly normal. About 30 laps into the race, Kyle Busch has a flat right rear, or maybe it was right rear. So he comes in and pits really early. Lucky for Kyle, though, he was in the pit window, so he could still run to the very end of the stage, but obviously tire strategy was a little wonked up. So, yeah, he ends up coming out, and I think he ends up still getting close to a top 10 or somewhere close to it in the at the end of the stage. But that did definitely hurt his day because he was running about 8th or 9th. Oh, maybe 7th, I can't even remember. But when he went to pit, he ended up obviously getting his tires really early, so he cycled forward, but then had the older tires later and kind of fell back. So yeah, at the end of stage one, though, Tyler Reddick does end up snagging the win after Noah Gragson kind of holds up Ross Chastain. Fighting for the lead lap, so I don't think there's anything super malicious about that. But Tyler Reddick ends up getting the win, and Noah Gragson, by doing that, did end up getting the free pass. That pays dividends later on for him by staying on the lead lap. So then you enter stage two. Stage two kind of runs off without too much of a hitch. Everything runs pretty good. First cycle of green flag pit stop starts, and basically 90% of the way through that green flag pit stop cycle, Tyler Reddick's right rear tire comes off. So you guys probably already know what I'm going to say. I'm sick of these tires falling off. And I'm not really... The tires falling off isn't the huge part that bothers me. I think the part that bothers me is NASCAR's inaction on trying to solve it as an actual problem. They don't seem to think it's too big of an issue. They think they can just say 2-lap penalty and it'll fix the problem. Look, teams don't want to lose tires. That the punishment is not the problem. To be completely honest, the problem is there's a wheel that can fall off because it's not tight. And unlike 5 lug nuts, where if it's going to come off, you had to have hit no lug nuts and it would fall off on pit road. This one can run a whole lap and a half before it finally comes loose and flies off. And look, here's the problem with that. And I've said it for a while. We saw at the Indy 500 what happens when a tire goes airborne, and that one luckily missed the grandstand. But if NASCAR keeps playing with fire, one of them's not going to miss the grandstand, and you're going to be able to look back at all my videos where I said they've got to watch out. They've got to fix the problem. They've got to be proactive. Don't let this happen. Don't let this happen. And all that's going to come forward, and we're all going to be sitting there saying, wow, I kind of wish they would have done something. So that's all I'm saying is just at least try to look for a solution, because right now they're just accepting it as that's just part of what racing is now for them. And I'm not satisfied with that. Look, I'm not going to lie. It's really unlikely something happens. That being said, I would like to eliminate the possibility altogether. The last thing I want to do is see a fan going to a race. They're working a hard 9 to 5 all the time. They spend their hard-earned money to go to a race, and something happens that permanently hurts them or worse. Okay, we can't have that as a sport. We can't. IndyCar got very lucky this year, and they have safety precautions in place to keep those wheels on the car. NASCAR doesn't. So if they're going to play this game, they better figure out something that can at least help them stay on the car, or otherwise just go back to an ugly looking wheel with 5 lugs, because we did not have this many problems. I'm sick and tired of the excuses from NASCAR of it's just how things are. We've always had loose wheels. Nuh-uh, not like this. We haven't had wheels falling off a car like this. In the last season and a half, we've seen more wheels off cars than I would argue in the last 30 years combined. I am that confident we haven't seen that many loose wheels running around the racetrack. So anyway, he ends up getting a 2-lap penalty. Steve Letarte tried to make an... Steve Letarte tried to say it wasn't a penalty because it was on pit road when it happened. Pretty sure the spirit of the rule is if you have a tire come loose and it causes a caution and affects the race, that's where your 2-lap penalty comes in. So I had no problem with the 2-lap penalty sticking. Now look, if you're literally 2 boxes down and you catch out, hey, my wheel's loose, and it falls off on pit road and doesn't cause any other issue. So, thing falls off, rolls away into another pit box, they pick it up, no caution, you just got to go back into your box and get a new wheel. I'm fine with that. I think this Tyler Reddick situation, look, it literally flips some people's race on its head. I think a 2-lap penalty is fine because at the end of the day, otherwise he would have literally, I think, stayed on the lead lap, and I don't think he should have been rewarded with being able to stay on the lead lap when, if the caution hadn't come out and he got back to pit road, he would have gone a lap down. So the 2-lap penalty, to me, is fine. I think that was a perfectly justified penalty. Not that it's not an anti-Reddick thing or nothing. It's just I think that's a fair penalty for what took place. Now, then we get back to our restart, and I got a little bone to pick with Chastain on this one. And it's very small, but on the restart, Brad Keselowski has a little bit trouble getting going. William Byron gets right up behind him. But I saw this actually coming from a mile away because I saw them getting into the restart zone, and Ross Chastain had a car length and a half behind William Byron. And he had a huge run through the restart zone. And I saw that and said, NASCAR has got to step in on this type of stuff. You cannot have guys lagging back that far into the restart zone. Because he had a huge run, and Byron was pushing Keselowski, but the minute Chastain hit Byron and sent that momentum forward into Keselowski claims it knocked the shifter out of his hand. I don't care if it knocked the shifter out of his hand, like that's whatever, but you can't let a guy hang back that far. You just can't. That's unfair to let a guy get that big a run through the restart zone because he was hanging back. And frankly, that's where I am perfectly fine with accelerating through corner 3 and 4. Accelerate through the corner, up, out, and down the straightaway, and you won't see near as many of these issues. Because I think that's part of our issue is these guys get all bunched up like that, and then they just ram it into the back of each other, and that's where you see all these crashes. Just let them roll up through the corner, and I don't think you'll see quite as hard of hits to the back bumpers of cars in front of them. So yeah, I mean, Keselowski definitely didn't get going very well, but like I said, I had a problem with that because I saw it coming. I literally saw it coming. I called it. I said, wow, Chastain he's laying back way too far. And then he hits Byron. Keselowski gets all sideways, ends up catching it, but unfortunately back in the field, Kyle Busch gets into Ryan Blaney, turns him sideways, spins him through the infield, and Blaney almost catches it, but then it hooks back to the left. He hits a solid piece of the wall. Sounded like he was pretty... knocked the breath out of him, or something. He did not sound like he was overly happy about that contact. So really hard hit into one of the only spots on that track that doesn't have a safer barrier. I assume by next year it will. But yeah, just a weird, it's a weird spot to hit. It's not a spot that you would think of because it's, kind of down towards the corner, and to get spun literally right there past pit road. You could hit pit road. I kid you not. Like, he was that close to where he had spun at, so he hits pit road wall. You can't have safer barriers on pit road, so sometimes it's just fluky. That's all I can say. The track actually has you moving away from that wall, so as far as how it's curved, so I don't know. I hate to say it, like, sometimes it's just fluky, because, yeah, there they can probably put a barrier in and still be all right. But sometimes it is just fluky, and that one was kind of fluky. I don't think Nashville is overly unsafe. It's just one literal 20-foot stretch of wall, and I'm guessing it hadn't been hit in 30 years. I'm kidding by the numbers, but yeah, Blaney pretty shooken up. Didn't sound like he was doing too good when he finally got out. It sounded like it was kind of a shook up there. So we're hoping he'll be all good. Then we get to our next restart. And then the rest of the race pretty much runs green and clean. We don't really see a lot of other action. It's really just a battle between Truex, Hamlin, and Chastain the rest of the way. William Byron was mixing it up in there for a little bit. He started fading later on in the race. Let's see, I had to think. Oh, yeah, Christopher Bell. He was also hanging in there, so He also had a very good run going, and he kind of faded towards the end as well. And then, yeah, basically the last cycle of pit stops, Truex comes in, I believe, a lap ahead of Hamlin, and then the next lap, Chastain comes in and puts a great pit stop together because that pit stop saved the race, most likely. And it was a two-car battle from there. It was going to be Truex or Chastain. Hamlin was about 5 seconds back. Elliott was 8 seconds back. So it was a two-car battle for the win all the way down to the very end. And once they got around down to the end of the race, Chastain was pretty much able to just hang on. I mean, he was a very good car. I think he and Truex are very evenly matched, and I think the guy that came out first on pit road was the one that was going to win the race, and that's exactly what happened. So congrats to Ross Chastain getting that win, first of the season, and locking himself into the playoffs. Next week, we go to Chicago. Not going to lie, I have a little bit of excitement towards that race. I have no interest in going to a race like that at the moment, but I'm definitely curious to see how it goes. Now, that being said, I think the race course... sorry, I'm yawning a bunch. It's like 1 a.m. here. The race course doesn't look overly great, but I guess we'll see what it looks like moving into through the practice sessions and stuff next weekend. So nighttime road course racing could be kind of fun. The other thing to mention, a couple little notes. Earlier in the day, I did watch an interview on YouTube from Chase Elliott. He talked about these night races need to be on Saturdays for the guys and the fans that need to work on Sundays. And I wholeheartedly agree. Look, I love the night races. I think that's a great thing when it's this hot outside. Get to the night. The nighttime is a very nice, lovely weather to be watching a race in. And I get from the TV standpoint, they don't think their ratings are as good. But look, the fans in the stands have to come first. They have to. You can watch a race the next morning or whatever, because I think a lot of people are out racing on Saturday nights. And you can watch that race Saturday or Sunday morning. You can have it recorded. You can do these things. Live viewership is no longer the only metric that matters. It does matter. It's not the only one. And NASCAR has been sucked into that bubble of, well, if they don't watch it live, they don't watch it at all. No, that's not how it works. There's a lot of people that watch later to catch it. And they love to fast forward through all the commercials and not miss stuff. So, yeah, I just think that his point of going back to Saturday night is 100% valid, because I know I loved the Kansas night race. It was so relaxing to be able to just go back home on Saturday, or not home, but go back to my cousin's place on Saturday night, sleep, and then I have all day Sunday to make the 6-hour drive home. Now, these races are starting at 3 p.m. on a Sunday. They're getting over at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and my 6-hour drive gets me home at 1 a.m. I got to work the next day, and I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people that got to work. So I think NASCAR's fan attendance at the track would be better if they looked to accommodate those fans first and TV second. But I understand they let TV call a lot of shots. So, yeah, he made that mention, so I just wanted to shout that out, because we have 3 straight night races in a row, but they're all on Sunday, which I like I said. The Chicago one I can get on board with. That's in the middle of the city, so you're staying in the city. Like, you're not camping and driving all the way in for that one. That one I'm okay with. But Atlanta... night race is great. Honestly, switch Atlanta and the street course. Atlanta, 4th of July, Saturday night, sounds great. We replaced Daytona. Sure, let's put Atlanta there. That's fine. I'd be totally on board with that. And then the street course, like I said, that can be on a Sunday night. That's not a big deal to me because of where it's located. It doesn't really have to accommodate campers and usually huge travel, because chances are, if you're there for that event, you're staying Sunday night anyway, which is fine. So, yeah. Looking forward to the street course next week. Can't wait to see it. Quick note for you Chase Elliott fans, including myself. He has 64 points out of the playoffs. We thought there's no mathematical way. Well, there might be a mathematical way. We have 3 road courses. We have 9 races. 3 of them are road courses. 2 of them are super speedways. And the ones that aren't super speedways or road courses are tracks where he has run well or won at. Pocono, technically won by default, but still counts. So, yeah, Pocono's on that list. What else is on that list? Michigan's on that list. Let's see. So 3 road courses. Who am I missing here? I'm missing a track. I don't remember which tracks I'm missing, but I know there's tracks in there. There's a lot of good tracks that he'll be running across. So, yeah, I wouldn't peg that as an over, So anyway, guys, that'll wrap up the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the race today. I thought it was a good, solid race. Not a barn burner, not a crazy race, not as good as Kansas, but a good race. Good, solid race. So, can't wait for next week. But anyway, guys, that'll wrap up the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later on this week in the next diecast review.